we know that Warner Brothers is going in the direction of live service games. However, earlier in the month of May 2024, we actually got a report about how bad Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League actually did in terms of finance. The report comes from Insider Gaming and reads that Suicide Squad cost Warner Brothers $200 million in revenue. The revelation came in the Q1 earnings report. In its report, Warner Brothers said that the game's release was disappointing and that it generated significantly lower revenues. Starting with studios, the $400 million plus year-over-year decline during Q1 was primarily due to the very tough comp we faced in games against the success of Hogwarts Legacy last year in the first quarter, in conjunction with the disappointing Suicide Squad release this past quarter, which we impaired, leading to a $200 million impact to earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization during the first quarter. And this was said by CFO Gunnar Wiedenfeld, said during the investor call after the report was published. Not only that, but the game saw multiple delays and mixed feedback from players and was also pulled from stores right after early access due to a bug. And once again, they mentioned the success of Hogwarts Legacy in this report. Now, even though Warner Brothers' goal is to create much more live service games and live services around games and franchises like Hogwarts Legacy, Harry Potter, perhaps now with the Q1 earnings report and the financial disaster that was Kill the Justice League, maybe they'll rethink trying to make everything a live service if that was their intention in the first place. Maybe they did have plans to make Hogwarts Legacy 2 a lot more live service, but the Suicide Squad flop could change their mind. However, I do want to read this quote from Warner Brothers JB Perrette about developing live service games. Rather than just launching a one and done console game, how do we develop a game around, for example, a Hogwarts Legacy or Harry Potter that is a live service where people can live and work and build and play in that world in an ongoing basis? Now, I just feel like when he's saying this, he has games like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft in the back of his head, because with those games you can sink in endless hours. And of course, as a head of gaming, you're going to want those types of games for your company, and a lot of those aspects can actually be implemented into their single player games without going full live service. You can make Hogwarts Legacy a lot more like Bully and Persona, where you actually go to the classes, where each class has its own mini games and it progressively gets harder every time you go to the class because you're learning harder things. Then another big feature is relationship and forming relationships with other students, which is another feature we see in these high school games like Bully and Persona. And with that PlayStation exclusive DLC, you actually got a shop in Hogsmeade. However, you actually couldn't run it or really sell anything in that shop. So having that be added to Hogwarts Legacy 2 would allow both features of living and working in the game. And of course, there are tons more you can add to Hogwarts Legacy 2 to allow people to role play and just exist in the world of Harry Potter through Hogwarts Legacy, and of course adding more content. And in terms of live service elements, we've talked about this a lot in my previous videos, but I'll just quickly mention them here. You can add a season pass, extra missions, map expansion, new features and new game modes, microtransaction cosmetic store, new mini games. All these things added post launch and being added to the game will keep the game alive for around 1 to 2 years after its release. I've said this a lot in my previous videos. That is the approach that Ubisoft takes with their Assassin's Creed games. Now, after this massive money blow with Suicide Squad, will Warner Brothers change their direction just like Sony did with live service, or will they keep it the same? Just last year's PlayStation Showcase of 2023, Sony showed off a bunch of new live service games that they were hoping to make, and they had a ton of them in development, which a lot of them got cancelled just last year too. Games like A Last of Us Online and a Spider-Man Online game were cancelled because those games were just hard to make and maintain and took up too many resources. And that is also something Warner Brothers has to think about when developing those games. It's gonna cost a lot of money, just like Suicide Squad did. And it doesn't matter how good your studio is, like a Rocksteady who made phenomenal Batman games, they just couldn't transition into the live service game. Now, if Rocksteady were to have made a single player open world Suicide Squad game in the style of the Batman Arkham game, and then would have added a microtransaction store, season pass with map expansions and exclusive missions, free content being drip fed into the game throughout the year, I'm pretty sure that game would have been a whole lot more successful and would have actually made Warner Brothers a hefty profit. Now, there is a Wonder Woman single player game upcoming from Warner Brothers Brothers, and it looks like it's being made by the team that made the Shadow of War series. According to reports, it won't be a live service game, so if this game is successful, it'll probably be another realization for Warner Brothers that yes, maybe we should stick with single player games and take that Ubisoft kind of approach. However, with the Shadow of War games, we did see them add loot boxes and ads for the loot boxes during the pause menu of the game, which frustrated nearly all of its players. And I also think that they rushed the game to try get it out there very fast, and critically that game just got destroyed, and it annoyed a lot of the players that played the game, which led to them ranting and raving about the game. So they already have past failures with that experience too. But one thing we know for sure is Hogwarts Legacy 2 is definitely coming. However, with all these reports of Warner Brothers going into live service and what feels like they're not learning from the mistakes of Suicide Squad, it is very worrisome for what Hogwarts Legacy 2 could end up being like. And we also know that Wonder Woman was actually in development a long time ago. But that's probably why it's not a live service game, because it was already being made into a single player game for a long time, and it's probably almost ready to come out. We've seen this countless times within the gaming industry where the upper suits of the company force game developers to put in all these different systems of live service and microtransactions and rush a game out there just so that they can make a ton of money, which they end up never making because the game is unfinished, unpolished, and it has egregious microtransactions all over the place and ends up losing a ton of money, which we've already seen with Rocksteady's Suicide Squad and their Shadow of War game. So maybe this is good news for Hogwarts Legacy 2. Of course, we didn't want to see Suicide Squad fail, but now that it has, and because it was that live service game that nobody wants that kind of structure, we saw the Avengers game fail, and now we've seen the Suicide Squad game fail, and hopefully Hogwarts Legacy 2 is going to be the game that we deserve. It should be bigger and better than Hogwarts Legacy 1. It should be the game that the developers of Hogwarts Legacy 1 envisioned, as it's rumored that they are going to be making this into a trilogy. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and watch my other Hogwarts Legacy 2 update videos. I'll leave them in the description and end of the video. We also cover so many other games like The Last of Us, the next Naughty Dog game, Sony Ben's next game, Assassin's Creed, and of course all the upcoming DC and Marvel games. So go ahead and browse the channel at your own leisure to see what games you may be interested for the latest news. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Peace out, God bless, and hope to see you on my next videos. Take care, guys.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me